Well, the week has been really bizarre, Brian Wang. It is, yeah, I mean, so much exuberance, so
Yeah,
much to be happy about. And then a little bit of sadness at the end, except as I point out to on X today, is you can be sad about the 10% down, except we're still up 29% for the month.
right, right. And we were right about, and I was very right about how many they'd make. So I had a tighter range, 495 to 505, and it fell right,
Yeah,
inside that with 497.
yes, you did.
But the reaction was, I expected there could be a sell in the news thing. I thought if the numbers were good enough, it would be less, but that turned out not to be the case. Um, so yeah,
Yeah, I thought there was a chance it would go up in fact, I said, I thought it would go up. I specifically said that if we hit that kind of a number, especially with the energy number being as good as it was, that I thought the stock would move up. However, I guess one could say, as I was talking to Bradford last night, if you have a 35, 38% profit in 30 days, you might be like, well, trimming seems like it might be a good idea.
right, right. So people have trimmed, and previous sell the news things tend to last 2, 3 days. So Monday it could turn it around. May not be right at the open, but maybe during the day it could turn around.
So I looked at a bunch of the different technical analysts today, and most of them are saying, okay, look, there's the of course round number at 400 if we continue down, and then there's a 380 or a 376, something like that, which seems to be a pretty solid floor. Um, is that more or less what you're seeing at this point?
We're still kind of holding 420. Yes, we went through to 417, but not a significant breakthrough.
Okay.
And then bouncing up to 430 would suggest that that 420 is still in play.
Okay.
But yeah, 400 and 380 are kind of like the next levels down.
All right. And so if you were going to place a bet right now, you're sitting in Vegas, you got the dice in your hand and you're ready to roll. What do you think we do test some more floors, or do you think that we're more likely to start easing our way up towards the earnings call?
I think it's news dependent.
News dependent.
That do we get FSD 14 out this weekend? Do they announce the lower price car, early
Mhm.
next week? Because those would be things that would help the sentiment and all that kind of stuff and turn things around.
So Gary Black is always talking about the fact that as we go from the numbers to the earnings call, that there's this 3 weeks of a place where the pundits and the analysts that are supposedly the smart ones can increase their price targets and increase their earnings estimates, or decrease depending on what the situation is. But right now we could be looking at an increase from 49 cents street to 70. Grok told me 65 when I asked Grok. I'm at 75. Other people are saying it could be more than 75 cents. So would you expect that to cause prices to go up between now and earnings?
I'm pretty much at 70 cents myself.
Okay.
And you can easily, with
Yeah.
good reg credits, other things move up to 75. It could drop down to 65, 60, depending upon, other things
Right.
that are moving parts on this whole thing. So I think it's automatic that once you saw those numbers and you run your model, that you would say, okay,
Yeah.
it's moved up to that. So the fact that it takes them like 3 weeks to figure it out, it's like it shouldn't take that long.
Yeah. Yeah. So are you suggesting yes or no? Do you agree with Gary Black that as these different pundits come out and raise their price target or raise their earnings per share estimates, that the stock will go up with it?
It'd be surprising to me that investors with a lot of money or institutions are waiting for some green light from some analysts who've generally been wrong. So it shouldn't take them that long. They see the numbers, they should know it's going
Okay.
to be good. Um, and so then it's just a matter of like, how long does it take them to get positioned the fact that it's going to be good? Because the numbers will be good, the call will be happy and good.
Right.
So it's going to be a good call, right? So that does set a kind of floor, but it in terms of like people trading it down before they take it back up again, I would anticipate that before the day of the earnings
Mhm.
and then a few days after, kind of like here, like do you run up before and then fall afterwards? Do you run up, kind of stay flattish leading into it and then have the pop up? It's
Yeah.
news that will take the stock up. And they have these other events that, if they happen, will move the stock up.
So one of those events, probably the biggest one, would be removing safety riders and increasing the number of vehicles on the road. What we learned a little while ago, because somebody posted it, and I didn't know this before, is that the state of Texas has a rule that says that you have to have an urgent response team available to tow cars away, take care of problems if these driverless cars become stranded or other problems. But anyway, it's right there in the rule. If you're going to have a taxi service with no safety rider, you have to have this. So this is, if no other reason, Tesla doesn't have that response team ready to go. So they can't really remove the safety riders or increase the fleet. Well, they can increase the fleet, but now they're going to have to hire a bunch of more safety riders. So this might be the reason all along that we don't have this increase yet. And now they've posted the job requests or the job postings to get some of these urgent response folks on the payroll. So I suggested to Larry, which will be later on tonight, people, oh no, I'm sorry, this will be after Larry. So I suggested to Larry earlier today that maybe it used to take me about, from the time I posted a job, it would take me 2 weeks to hire. And I'm figuring it takes 2 weeks then to train. So we might be looking at the timing almost exactly for the safety riders to come out and for more cars to be out there would be when the meeting happens. And that way, all the stockholders coming into town would be able to take rides in a really, truly robo-taxi vehicle.
3 seconds, November 6th.
November 6th. Yeah.
Yeah, that timing seems to work out.
Yeah. So maybe that will be the deal. All right, let's talk about Model Q because that's the other big, big, big deal. Those are the two things I think between now and the stockholders meeting that probably are on everybody's mind. We did see pictures. Apparently, this must be the car. It is not smaller. It is a stripped down Model Y. Everybody's talking about how much can that save? And I have no idea. I don't have the beginning of the skill set. As an ex-manufacturer, I'm like, no, I have never even thought that I could figure anything out about how much all this stuff costs and how much it would save. But everybody else seems to be an expert on this. I quite frankly look to you more than most of these others for something like this. What do you think is you know, maybe you don't make quite the same margin. What do you think what do you think the price they would be aiming for, and can they get there?
So I think, 5,000 would be about 12% in the US market. 5,000 would be about 15% in China. Um, I think those are very achievable. I think everyone else seems to think that as well. Um, you're starting at a lower price in China from about like 35, 37, by taking 5,000 off, 32,000. Um, and you could push back certain psychological numbers. And then I think we're at 42 without the tax credit. And then if you take off 5,000, you're at 37. And if you take off, I think 500, you'd be at 35. So those, I think to get to the lower numbers, you have to take out a lot more batteries.
Okay.
So, how much does the range matter to the people who have like, 330 miles and get to 250? How low can you go?
So would you leave the batteries in and just what do you call it? Not not make them available. Take them out with the software so people could put it back later.
they need to have done the work to check, on the customers and to assess
Mm,
what that is.
hmm.
It may be different in different
Mm,
countries,
yeah.
like you could have a different range in China, different range in the United States, different range in Europe,
Hmm.
right? And also you have different sensitivities around um, um, what the price points are. Like in the
Right.
United States, if you get it below 35,000, that'd be a huge deal. If you
Right.
get below, I don't know, 180,000 RMB or something like that, it could be a huge deal. So you have to look at those markets. And because we're building them in different factories anyhow, with different battery sources,
Right.
it doesn't have to be the exact same thing.
Right.
Um, so so that's a factor. To get a lot of batteries out, to hit the really big numbers, which we think would be, jaw dropping or something like that, then I think you need to shrink the car, reduce the weight, and then take out more batteries. That could get you another $2,000, $3,000 out. Um, so it's they have a lot of choices, and I can make cases for any one of them, but I would presume that they would use data and then figure it out. And they would then also know whatever operational supply chain things that go into that question.
Hmm.
So they will make the right choice
Right.
based on a more informed
Data
answer, right? For me, it's just get something out
out there.
sooner so that because it will help get them more volume production. So,
I think you and I discussed this on Wednesday night, is that it might be more important to get them out in China
Europe.
and Europe right now, because Tesla will have this overhang
Mhm.
of the people that bought the car at the last minute
Yeah.
and won't take delivery of their Model Ys or Model 3s until later in the month.
Mhm.
So it might be okay for the US to be November 1st as opposed to right away. But
Mhm.
those other two countries, well, especially Europe, we could use the sales right now. Although Europe is coming alive a little bit.
Yeah. Right. And then for the United States, we know that if you have something that's $7,500 cheaper, you'll sell maybe 50,000 more.
Yeah,
So out of like 200,000, 150 to 200,000 in a quarter.
yeah,
So they know that that's there for the taking. So, and then, but if no one else has the same $500 tax credit, because everyone lost it,
right.
then if you go down 5,000,
It,
you'd be the one lower than anyone else. So it'd be more impactful to drop down that number. To prevent margin erosion, you wouldn't want to have it, you know, far less margin on the cheaper car,
sure.
right? Just to
Yeah.
shove them out there.
Have you had time to think any more about possible bundlings? That idea appeals to me a lot,
Mhm.
of bundling in the FSD. Maybe the new cheap model is, uh, in the US is 37.5, and that's what it would be without the FSD, but you just make it 39 and you include FSD.
I think, it's you can also do months of FSD, 6 months,
Oh, yeah.
9 months, so you don't have to go all the way to giving it entirely.
Mhm.
Um, and you can also give a discount for like 12 months. They do that for SpaceX Starlink for the
Oh,
first
yeah.
12 months are way cheaper,
Right.
$50 a month instead of 120 or something.
Mhm.
So there's many different ways they can fine tune it to match supply and demand.
Okay. All right. And I think you pointed out on Wednesday, they could also do things with
Supercharging,
miles and things of
yep,
that nature, insurance even. I
yep.
mean, imagine right now with insurance being what it is, what if you got a really good deal on insurance for the first year? And of course Tesla would know exactly what that was going to cost them if it was Tesla insurance.
Right. And it's all, and they're also doing stuff with leasing, I think.
Yeah.
So I think they already rolled that out where they did some leasing things because
Right.
you're looking at the initial purchase decision, money out of my pocket in the first year.
Right.
After that first year, then it's like a normal run rate and just operational efficiency and all that kind of stuff.
Right. Have you heard anything at all about you've spent a little more time, I think, on watching the different factories. Do we know anything more about the actual semi truck? Does it look like they're getting ready to start making those, or are we really looking at January?
Um, I think it's sooner, but it'd be sooner at some kind of partial mass production. Going to, like 500 vehicles a month instead of
Mhm.
20, right? So they're going to be like one a day now, go up to like five or 10, and then full production is 4,000, 100, 120 a day.
Mhm. So yeah, so you're saying that we might see pre some start at the beginning of the ramp up before the 1st of January.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to move the stock
No,
because people just are so stupid about it. I mean, it's like energy. It's like, excuse me, energy is adding more right now than the Model Q is going to add. And you're not paying any attention to that. But anyway, all right. Let's see. We've got a couple something with regard to the tariffs. I was tied up doing the Larry Goldberg video. You said there was something came out on the tariff agreement or a change that the
yeah,
president.
for U.S. car manufacturers, they would get more of a tariff relief. So it's, I think, 25% tariffs on non-U.S. parts. And so then US made cars would get even more tariff relief. They were talking before about 3.75%. So on a $40,000 car, 1,200 bucks, something like that.
Wow. Mhm.
So talking about extending that for 5 years, doing something, not sure if they're going to increase it or something like that, but it's some, effect of uh, an impact on US made cars to support
And was that a decision or was that in conversation?
it. Sounded like a decision that they're talking about publicly.
Okay, all right. Okay, all right. Cool. We also had more conversation. They've been doing a lot of throwing up the trial balloon the last few days about the $1,000 to $2,000 rebate check to every taxpaying American to make up for the tariff expenses. Um, Kind of an interesting idea. I've heard lots of back and forth on that. This would have to, believe it or not, this requires congressional approval. So, so I don't know what the odds are that Congress is going to let the president send out a check with his name on it to every taxpaying American, but they'd also have the opposite side of that, which is we're going to deny you $1,000 to $2,000. That might not fly very well either. So what do you think? Do you think this is going to happen?
I think it end up in the mix of
Mhm.
the government shutdown.
Mhm.
So it's another point of negotiation that if you can pass something, they also are doing in terms of the shutdown stuff like that. Is that I think they'd actually done the work, surprisingly, that they actually supposed to do budgets by section. You're supposed to actually
Yeah,
do a full budget, like
yeah,
12 different sections, something like that.
yeah,
And supposedly they've done that for like three or four sections. So if you actually do the negotiation around real budgets
yeah.
and then include this other stuff, then you can actually do whatever negotiation horse trading thing happens to get something to get done. So if the getting the budget sections actually all done and then working that into something where everyone agrees, I think that becomes possible then.
Yeah. So you mean an actual budget instead of just continuing resolutions forever?
That's right.
What a concept.
Yeah.
That'd be a new idea.
Mhm.
Okay, and then there was another thing that the president was. Oh, I know. We were gonna talk about the not just the one tariff, but it's interesting that there's still a lot of tariff stuff happening. So we're still getting. We got the pharmaceutical one last week. By the way, the Democrats were all over actually praising
Mhm.
President Trump for the Trump, what do they call it? Pharma Trump or Trump-a-Farm or something. I forget what they're calling it. The website where people will be able to buy certain pharmaceuticals directly from the U.S. government
Mhm.
at a big discount. So people were praising that idea and saying, "Come on, Democrats, you guys need to come up with some ideas here because the Republicans are running away with the new idea department." But there's also new tariffs on furniture and cabinetry, some other stuff like that. So still tweaking. So do you think maybe we'll start to see a lot more of this kind of tweaking, uh, category by category to make things make better sense?
Um, the Trump administration doesn't seem to be scared of change and doing stuff. So, yes, they could continue to uh, take action as they deem appropriate.
Okay, tweak, tweak, tweak.
Mhm.
I don't remember whether it was you I had the conversation with or not, but I have this theory that if the feds, if I'm sorry, if the SCOTUS lets us down and actually votes against the Trump administration on the tariffs, that this would be a good enough reason to eliminate the the yeah word uh, help me out here. Congress has a filibuster. It'd be a good enough
Filibuster.
reason to eliminate the filibuster in order to get a tariff bill through.
Okay. Um, that's even too in the weeds for me as to what they would actually do because it's more it's causes a lot of other uh, effects beyond what you just did. That was the whole thing that the previous Democrat things have done, where they eliminated it and then shock, when the House flips or the Senate flips and the other side does it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So these kind of how people, how the politicians end up, tit for tatting or doing whatever, is whether things are a good idea or not depend upon the people who are doing it. And you have to actually know what's what's happening on the ground to know what's
So
going on.
yeah, so maybe that would be just like they did before. They didn't eliminate the filibuster. They only eliminated for a category,
Mhm.
which was federal judgeships, I think.
Mhm.
So maybe the Supreme Court judges also, I think. Anyway, but maybe they could end up with just for tariffs would be the end of the filibuster for tariffs,
Mhm.
and then maybe they can change it back before they leave office. But anyway, all right. So what am I missing? What have I failed to talk about that I should have talked about today?
Um, so new car, FC14. Um, there's stuff happening with AI. Where they get new models out. Rock 4.2. We had Anthropic's 4.5, which moderate improvement there. I think we may be close to Google Gemini 3 coming out. Um, and then OpenAI's valued at $500 billion,
Right.
which is just the employees being allowed to sell. So,
Oh, really? Okay.
yeah, $6.6 billion at the $500 billion valuation to SoftBank and others. But
Wow.
it means it's easier for them to raise, at that number. They kind of like set a point, a line in the sand as
Hmm.
to where they'll go over. And then for Anthropic and XAI, that if you get your performance up, if you get your usage up and popularity, then you too can have a valuation of $500 billion or more.
So
So
Grok 4.2 should be around the corner, right? Because we got Grok 5 by January, right?
yes, yes. So those I'm looking at closely. I've also done an analysis, putting out a video out about analyzing the um, AI data center build, and semi-analysis and others seem to be saying that Meta, OpenAI, and the others are pushing hard to get to Colossus scale by the end of next year.
By the end of 2026.
Right. Which would be a huge thing, but they would get up to like 500,000 600,000 B200s, like Tesla XAI is getting to in the next weeks and months or whatever. But then the question of like, do you have the power installed? Are the chips there? Are they installed and working? Just having
Right,
one of the pieces, you need everything all together at the same
right.
time.
Good.
And then also determine like, I have the power now to do it. I have the thing, I get them installed and then I have to turn them on and do stuff. So it's not like a single date. It's like you have to get a bunch of things done together. And they have not done it yet. So even though they have a target of doing that, even though they have plans, and Zuckerberg on Meta, he's doing the Elon Musk tent idea
Mm.
of building AI data centers in tents in order to build them faster. He's also going for the mobile gas turbines and that kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah.
So they're trying very, very hard to match the pace of XAI.
Except a year
So
behind,
a year behind and maybe more, right?
and maybe more. So, and because Tesla, I mean, because Elon's plan for XAI is to have 1 million of these things by when?
Early next year.
Early next year, when they're shooting for 500,000 by the end of next year.
Right. But OpenAI has many, many other locations. So Microsoft is building a lot of data centers in many, like Virginia, Ohio, Texas, New Mexico, like they're, you know, Idaho, Iowa, like things are going up all over the place. Same thing for Meta as well. And they have the cloud business, and so does Google.
Right.
So the question of how much is it dedicated towards
Hmm.
AI training or AI inference,
Hmm.
how much is for these other purposes,
Hmm.
and how disadvantageous is it to have things in different locations? Like I can run a smaller test, smaller using tens of thousands of GPUs, but then I need to do my big training run. So I can having many things where the groups can work separately on substantial but not the entire thing is a useful thing to have. So, but then how much of a disadvantage is it to not have all in one unified memory, a giant model training? Um, these are things that
We won't know until we know,
we
huh?
want which we know, and also can be a moving thing. It's
Yeah.
sometimes it
Yeah.
matters, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
How important is it when it does matter? And we basically only know by, well, how good is Grok 5? How good is Grok 4.2? How good is Grok 6? When do the others come out? So it's only when the models come out and then you use them for a while,
Right.
do how much that execution actually come together. Because Meta, their team blew up and they had all that problems because they were doing something on their model, which was intended to make it more efficient. But then they created these little gaps in the thing, which made the training not work, and they didn't weren't able to test it good enough to realize that they were screwing up,
Okay.
right? So it wasn't related to how many chips they had. It wasn't related to it was just the team made a bad design that they couldn't tell that it was bad until they ran through it and they realized, holy crap, it doesn't work, right? So that goes to things like testing, so like FSD, where you like do a bunch of stuff and then you test it in the full up situation
Mhm.
and then you realize. So you think you're testing everything right away and sampling and knowing what's happening. But if you make a mistake and you actually aren't able
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
tell,
Yeah.
that's when you can go off and then waste 6 months or a year and billions of dollars.
So it's impossible for me to keep up with all of the different uh, testing things. Elon is always saying, "Hey, Grok's #1 or Grok's #2 and this or that or the other." How would you look at it right now in terms of the the overall picture? We know that, there's two things. There's how are you doing on the testing, and then how are you doing in terms of getting people to pay you, which can be two different things right now. But how do they look on just on the testing? How is Grok doing right now in the testing?
Rock seems to be doing a lot better in the testing, in particular for giving fast responses. The
Mhm.
Grok Fast and the Grok Fast code is getting very good answers quicker than many other models. So they're competitive. People are using the free version
Mhm.
more
Mhm.
for the coding. So in terms of code, because it's free, it's among the best free models for coding. So they're getting attention, getting usage for that. I feel that a theory that I have is that until we break out and get to the next level, the um, the juggling around, getting close, getting a little bit better does not really matter. That you're not getting a knockout blow.
Mhm. Mhm.
Everyone's having a Royal Rumble.
Mhm.
They're in the ring. They're fighting. They're throwing punches. OpenAI the head right now. They
Right,
got a billion users.
right.
They're making $15 billion a year, right? But they're still losing 10 to $20 billion a year because they're spending way more, right? Anthropic is making the second most, I think about 7 billion. XAI may be only making um, a billion, but that is kind of like tough to tell because they're making 3 or 4 billion when combined with
Yeah.
X and whatever, right? And they say, okay, well, we're improving sales and advertising and things by 20, 30%, right? To me, the exact details don't matter. They're making some money
Mhm.
and they can make more. They're spending more than they're
Right.
making. So again, it goes to um, the companies who are, car companies spending money on autonomous driving or spending money on Waymo,
Mhm.
right? They're losing $2 billion, $4 billion a year.
Sure.
Right now, we're losing more money, doing OpenAI, doing Anthropic, and doing XAI. So the stomach is there to keep losing money,
Mhm.
right? But when you go up to $100 billion per year, it turns out we actually have enough money to keep supporting that too.
Right.
Even with but it's you won't be able to keep it up at that rate for
That's
that
right.
long. And then if someone figures out how to make $500 billion a year, right? A really useful wow thing
Right.
of, you know,
Right.
profitability, then the game changes. It's just like so it's like a higher stakes game of things that have happened before, where it's like um, people trying to win PC. You have Mac, you have Apple. Sorry, you have Apple PCs, Apple II, Apple III, competing against IBM PC, and then IBM wins the enterprise market, and
Mhm.
then they go to $100 billion profitability, and then they leave Apple behind until Apple comes back, right? So when you're in the pre-phase of
Mhm.
you know fighting over important stuff, but it's like when do you actually break out to achieve something really world changing and really profitable? So profitable that your whole profit engine changes, right? So that level of huge success is the touchdown that you know changes the movement on the field into now I have a result that changes the game, right?
So Elon said the other day that the new Starship that's going up in 8 days, 7 days, 6 days, whatever,
13,
is
10 days.
10 days. So the new Starship that's going up, one of the things they're still working on is the heat shields. But we know that there's always other issues that need to be worked on. He said on the last launch, he hasn't updated it for the next launch. He said, so far, Starship is not about AI. Starship is traditional engineering.
Right.
So why wouldn't he already be using the capabilities of Grok at Starship in order to speed up some of this, um, super expensive testing that needs to be done?
I think it's not good enough to make the difference it needs to have.
Mm.
And it is rocket science, so they can't get AI as complete to do it. Like NVIDIA spent years getting their AI good enough to do chip design, right?
Mm.
And we spent years getting FSD good enough for robotaxi,
Mhm.
like 10 years, right? So these really hard problems take a lot of work. You're worth doing, but it's not like snap your fingers and it happens.
Mhm.
It's really, really complicated. You have to make complicated systems that interact with each other, have some AI component, have some data, but it's a bigger structural lift to get to truly useful stuff, which also goes to my point about can we, can you get, have the vision for something that's truly next level? And that goes to Elon's advantage because he goes for the knockout punch. He
Right.
goes for, I'm going to take it up 10x from where it is now. Like, he could have stuck around at the Waymo level, messing around with 2,000 whatever cars, because how do I get to a million, 10 million cars I
Right.
can drive without he's going for taking it to the point where everything changes, right? So, and that happened before with electric cars.
Sure.
BYD was ahead for a long time before in terms of number of vehicles, and then they Elon did the Model 3 and the Model Y, and then surged ahead. And then it took many years for BYD to catch up in that game, right? But now, if they get self-autonomy, then they leave everyone behind, and it will be a multi-year
Right.
advantage lead.
Right.
So, same thing for AI is to get to the point where you make something so transformative and it will involve a lot more work to do it. And you have to have the vision. And I don't think it's just chat, just search. Just chat, just search is about $100 billion a year. It's a pretty big prize, but it's not like I solve all coding, all software,
Right.
and I start at 2 trillion, 5 trillion, I go up from there, right? So you need to have some addressable market that is really, really monster.
Right. 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 Like, for instance, solving cancer. So,
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
something like that. Okay.
right. Solving all medicine. Yeah,
Solving all medicine. Yeah, solving all physics.
right.
As some people have talked about, that's what we're looking at. But some people are talking about we'll solve all physics or solve all math within 3 years.
I think that's people who don't understand how hard those things are.
Yeah, the singularity is not going to be here in 2020 in 2029, huh?
You can have, again, if you move in the goalposts, like
Yeah,
certain things will happen, there'll be a lot of change
yeah, yeah.
that will be, potentially hugely transformative and very profitable. Like getting to something that's 100 billion. Going from 15 billion to 150 billion dollars would be huge, but it may not be the transformative trillion, $10 trillion thing, right? And to really, I think that next level. If it's just what we're doing but faster, or what we're doing but a little bit better, that's
Mhm.
great and it could be hugely profitable, but it won't be the thing that, really I think there's other levels here for what can happen is the point.
All right. Well, that's about all I got, Brian.
Mhm.
I just finished back to backs here, so I may be running out of gas. I never run out of gas,
Mhm.
so don't spread
Because
it.
you have electric car.
That's right. But of course.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
thank
But
you, Brian.
a weekend coming up and everyone should
Yeah,
enjoy it.
it's going to
So,
be great. Yeah. All right. To all of you out there, it has been great talking to you.
okay.
I haven't stopped yet. I don't think. Maybe I did. Have I stopped? I might still be going here. Here we go. Pause, stop, stop.